Hello and welcome. These are live office hours. I'm TJ Walker. It is Thursday, June 24th, 2021. This is our first live session in the summer of 2021. Hope you're having a great summer so far. All good here in Florida. Barb, how are things out west? I'm joined by my colleague, Barb Tomlin, as always.
Well, the weather is hot, but my internet access has been crippled the last couple of days. So I'm on audio only today, trying to complete my troubleshooting. But I'm here for everybody, so great to be here.
Great. And also joining us, my good colleague, JM. JM joining us from I guess technically westernmost area of Asia, joining us today or this evening for you, JM. Thanks for joining us. JM, you want to say hello? We may have lost his audio connection. Those of you who signed in on time today, we appreciate it. We had a few technical difficulties. That's part of the beauty. I find anytime you get a new computer, a new service, higher internet connection, it only takes one change and the whole apple cart can be upset. It's typically my computer, my microphone, or my speaker. This time it happened elsewhere, but that's a part of dealing with technology, and it's a part of speaking using technology. Now, I'm a big fan of technology. I've got a gazillion computers, as I'm sure you do. We're coming here today through the power of technology. But when you are speaking, when you are presenting, when you are communicating, it does mean there are extra challenges you face. You've got to put in even more time, double checking things, triple checking when the stakes are high. Don't do like I've done in the past occasionally, which is try to sign on 4 minutes before it's time to go live. Give yourself an hour, because it may be that everything worked perfectly yesterday for a live broadcast on Facebook or YouTube or Zoom or Skype, and you're doing the very same thing today. You think you're all set to go, and oops, your computer did an automated update over the night or through the night, and now something doesn't work. Your software program no longer recognizes your video camera or your microphone. And you're left sort of starting off the whole session, floundering around, apologizing, having to type notes to people. So it's inevitable in some situations, but for really high stakes presentations, that job interview for the job you're dying for, that keynote speech where people may be paying you a lot of money, that sales pitch to a client or prospect that you'd love to land more than anyone else. Don't leave things up to chance. Practice. Test all of your equipment. Test in advance. And it will really be worth it, because you want to be relaxed when you're speaking and communicating, especially if you're all by yourself in a room and you're staring at a video camera. That's nerve-wracking enough for most people. The last thing you want to do is be thinking about, oh my gosh, I was supposed to start speaking to them 5 minutes ago and I'm still playing with rebooting, and was it going to reboot fast? You don't want that added pressure. So try to use every tool you can in advance to test things and make sure you get it just right. Now, we were speaking a few minutes ago, and unfortunately most of you missed it. And for those of you watching on replay on YouTube, Facebook, and other platforms, I'll just give you a brief summary. And that is, I frequently have people tell me that they want to write a book. As recently as this morning, I had a colleague at Starbucks say, "Teacher, I want to write a book." And I never like to rain on anyone's parade. I don't like to be negative. And I think books can be great. And I've written half a dozen books. And I've had some success with books. So one of them even becoming a USA Today #1 bestseller. That's why the advice you're going to hear me say may sound strange, but I actually advise people, don't write a book. Do not try to write a book in 2021 unless You already have a huge, huge following on Facebook or your YouTube channel or your blog, or you happen to be really famous because you're a celebrity or a politician or a star athlete. Because what I see in the marketplace, because I deal with professional speakers, authors, experts all over the world on a daily basis, nobody's selling a book unless they have a built-in following, a built-in audience. It's not like 1973 or 1975 and you're Wayne Dyer and you can just come up with a book, go on Johnny Carson, The Tonight Show, be seen by 30 million people and have a bestseller the next day. That did happen in the mid-70s. It doesn't happen anymore. You have to have a huge existing following. That's why I'm such a fan of online training, because you don't have the same level of competition. For example, 3 years ago, I was thinking of writing a book on storytelling. And I'll just share with you what I did. I'm going to share with you my screen here, and you can see exactly what my thought process was, how I did this. So I'm going to go to Amazon and show you what I saw. Actually, Barb, I think I shared the wrong screen. Are you seeing my Amazon page, or are you just seeing another screen of me? And Barb, did I lose you? Well, it looks like we have lost Barb, but I'm going to do a quick double check. Oh, it is the wrong screen. Okay. So I'm going to hit stop share. Now I'm going to hit share. Share screen. There we go. I have the correct screen now. So you can see I've just gone to Amazon. I'm typing in books. I'm typing in storytelling. And wow, 50,000 results came back. And I did this a few minutes ago, 60,000. At some point, it's so many books, even the data experts at Amazon can't keep track of them all. So when I did this 3 years ago, there were 30,000 books that showed up. And I said to myself, do I really want to compete against 30,000 books? That's, I'm confident and I'm a good storyteller, but that's stiff competition. Because here's the thing about Amazon. If you don't end up on the first page, if you're not one of the first, 10, 15 books or so, good luck making more than about $2 a month. So then I thought, well, what else can I do? And that's when I went to Udemy and I said, I wonder if there's 30,000 stories or 30,000 courses on Udemy that relate to storytelling. So I went into the data there, I went into the analytics, and I typed in storytelling. And at the time, there were only 30 books. Now today, there are 95 courses on storytelling, but still, would you rather compete against 95 other course creators or 50,000 authors? I like the odds a lot more of, at the time, there were 30 different courses on Udemy. I'd much rather compete against 30 people than 50,000. Because I'm pretty sure I could have spent 1-2 years writing a book, rewriting the book, writing a great book on storytelling. Maybe I would have ended up better than 99% of the authors, but that still means I wouldn't have ended up on the first page on Amazon for books. And I might have made $0 or certainly lost money once I factored in cost. Now with storytelling, again, I only had 30 people to compete with. And I could see that there was high student demand, decent amount made each month. And I made my course and promoted it really just for a month. And it's the #1 course. Again, I don't say this to brag, but I just want you to see how someone who has a business about online training and really a business about monetizing expertise, what the thought process is. Because I know so many of you have talents, you have more talents than I do, you have areas of expertise greater than I do. And it's frustrating because I've done this before. You spend 2 years on some big project, a talk show, a book, a movie, and you can't get in front of people. You can't get distribution. That's why I'm so excited about online training. Now, all of my courses are not #1. This one happened to go to #1, and it has made a fairly nice amount of money over the last 3 years. It's not that far away from having made 6 figures, and it certainly grossed, more than $250,000 of total sales. That doesn't all go to me. Again, I don't say that to brag, but just to let you see how in relative terms, it's much easier to go after a niche where there's less competition, the niche of online video-based training rather than book publishing, because everyone thinks they're an author and everyone thinks they're a great writer. Now, how can you find good opportunities? If you are on the Udemy platform, there's a tool button that you can go to. You hit the tool button and it will tell you the marketplace insights. There's thousands of online course marketplaces these days. Udemy is the only one, to my knowledge, that actually gives students data and instructors data on what people are looking for. And so you go to this screen and it tells you, for example, what topics look promising. You can also type in topics. So about a month and a half ago, I was looking around at topics related to art because my daughter is an aspiring artist. So I typed in a whole bunch of different topics, and at one point I heard about NFT art. I typed it in, and I like this. It literally says, this topic is a great opportunity. Well, I like that. High student demand, low number of courses. What's not to like about that? The median, meaning half the courses, make at least $387 a month. The top course makes $2,300 a course. And it tells you whether the topic is becoming more popular or less popular. You can see from this search volume trend, in December, it basically was a non-existent topic on Udemy. No one was searching for it. It went up a little in January, February went up, and then it's the proverbial hockey stick. Up in March, continues to go up in April, continues to go up in May. So I partnered with a world-renowned expert on NFT art to create a course. Now, my course just launched a few weeks ago, so it's not going to show up as one of the best sellers. But my course now has 155 ratings, and it's more than twice as long as any other course. And it's frankly longer than all the other best-selling courses combined. So I anticipate that within 2 weeks, my new course will be #1. Now, I'm not here to sell you on a new course today, and I'm not giving out coupons or anything like that. I simply point this out so that you can get sort of a lens and a look at how does someone who tries to create a business by monetizing expertise, what's their thought process? How do you do it in a rational way so that you increase the odds that you can somehow make money from it and not spin your wheels, spend weeks, months, sometimes years creating something and do all that and never get it in front of an audience and never make any money from it and lose money from it. Because I've been there. I did that for decades, folks, and it's not nearly as much fun as creating something, putting it out in front of the world, helping a lot of people, and making money in the process. So if you have questions about making courses or publishing books, I am here for you. Now, I'm here to answer any of your questions about any aspect of public speaking, communication skills, personal development skills, because that's what I teach in my online courses. So if you have questions, if you have comments on that, then this is your time. It's not a time for me to be pitching you anything, selling you anything. I didn't prepare a keynote speech for you today. It's just open office hours. Since we're not all on the same campus, and you can't just walk across the quad into my office building and open the door, I came to you this way and trying to be as responsive as possible and as accessible as possible. Barb, I know we were having some technical difficulties earlier with you and JM. Can either of you hear me? Are either of you able to turn your cameras on and to say hello?
I can't really turn my I don't want to take the risk.
Well, we see your face now. It's nice to see you.
The risk of turning my camera on this morning. I'll be testing that this afternoon. Hopefully I'll come back into the group with an update, but definitely challenged on the video side. But it has been the most interesting week with technology, and I couldn't agree with you more than the approach you've taken. You know that that's where I found you, was on Udemy. And as I'm watching how everything has been rolling out this spring into the summer months, I'm even more convinced that that is the path to take. And so I am looking forward to really having that spare time for myself to get some of that stuff done, because I think I've shared with our group and you as well, is that we're making a major life change and relocation, and so it's kind of you drop the ball and take care of other things. But because all of us in the world today are relying so much on internet access, this happening to me was just a major awakening. Because all these years I've worked remotely, and I would say probably at least a good 15 out of the last 20, it's been remote. But in the past, I had Verizon modems with my cellular service to connect with as an alternative when my primary provider went down. And so with all of these changes of late, nothing is reliable, I'm finding. And it was really quite frightening this year. As TJ knows, I had wanted to participate in the Amazon Live for Prime Day. And it was very important, and it is a valid route to take in actually monetizing your live streams and creating additional revenue and having fun while you're doing it. And I was real excited about that. And I couldn't even participate as a purchaser because I didn't have access. So it's absolutely critical. And I look at poor JM right now, where he's at in the world today. He's having trouble with his connection. And yet, TJ and I grew up in a world where things were analog. At the time when we got started as adults in communication, we would use fax. I mean, you may not even know what a fax machine is anymore, but we use fax.
I'm so old. I remember when people were incredibly excited about the arrival of the first fax machine in the office. It was 1986 in a Florida government office. I remember.
Well, that's the year I started this business that I still have today, was 1986. So you know from where I come. So I'm so grateful for having the access to all the technology that we have today, but it's not infallible. And if your life depends on it, I mean, it's not just about a career. It's not just making money. Our healthcare systems are tied into this. And those of us who have health conditions are being monitored by hospitals through the internet, through our doctor's offices, through the internet. And you think how much all of us depend on it.
And everyone has to learn how to communicate through this. I mean, I'm occasionally hired by hospitals to train their doctors on how to talk to patients through this, because doctors, we think of them as so smart, educated, godlike. They're just as nervous and insecure about appearing on camera. So they have to hire someone like me quite often to teach them how to look and sound comfortable, confident, relaxed. Because otherwise, they're like this, or they want to hide behind the screen and stare at notes, and they have communication problems too. So you're not taught how to communicate in medical school or law school. That's why a lot of people come to Udemy, my courses, other courses, and it's not taught anywhere, but it's more essential than ever. Well, Barbara, I'm glad you got your technology back and your internet back. It is inconvenient, but you know what else is really inconvenient? No internet. I remember not having been existed. I remember more than 30 years ago, I was syndicating a political TV talk show, and I had to physically drive to every TV station in Florida, knock on doors, beg for a meeting with a general manager, show them a VHS videotape of my TV pilot. So anytime I want to feel sorry for myself for the internet being down for 2 seconds, all I have to do is remind myself, could be worse. And in fact, it's been a lot worse for still the majority of my life, even though it's been great having the internet for the last quarter century. But it can go off in parts of the country, parts of the world it can be off. Different people have different levels of access, and you do the best you can. We appreciate JM being with us for part of today, even though sometimes internet access can be sketchy anywhere in the world. It looks like JM is back. Can you say hello to us, JM?
Hello, everyone.
Oh,
Hello, Barb. Hello, TJ.
Great. And JM, good to hear your voice. And for those of you who aren't familiar with JM, he works with me closely with Ultimize and Media Training Worldwide, but also with our Udemy courses. JM is a great young technology expert. He has courses on everything from Google Classroom to how to type faster. I wish I had had your course on typing way back in 1976, I believe, is when I took my first typing class. We were supposed to do 25 words a minute to pass. I peaked at 23 words a minute, but fortunately the teacher just liked me and gave me an A in the class. Not really fair, but nobody complains about unfairness in life when it comes down to their own benefit. So that did happen to me. But to this day, and I should take your class now, JM, to this day, I have to physically look at every single key. For whatever reason, the touch typing and not looking never really stuck. But that's just an example. JM has a lot of different courses. JM, tell us about your most recent course. And by the way, if you're listening to this and you have an online course, feel free to pop right on and promote your own course. We always like putting a spotlight on students' courses. So JM, tell us about your most recent course.
Okay, so I think the internet connection is still it's really not too much powerful. It's very weak. But I think you said that tell us about your recent course, correct?
Yes.
Okay, my recent course is Google Slide, and it says the complete Google Slide Masterclass, Master Google Slide. So basically, I'm teaching using three methods. Number one, I help people to understand the tools of Google Slide, and then second, I help people to do that tool, to do that in projects, to use that in projects. And finally, I help people to somehow present this slide better, make this slide better. So basically teaching people how to make the slide better, use images, using infographics, all of that necessary things to be done in Google Slides. And at the first, when I launched, it was really a good news for me, and it made a good amount of money at first, even launching. So people started buying it, and it's a tech course. Even I'm living at a country where there's not a good internet connection. There's no called even internet connection. It's very 3G internet and 2G somehow, and low power electricity, and you hear always the gunfire maybe sometimes.
Wow.
So, but I do my best and I never quit. So I do my own work and I follow my own passion to live the life I want, not the others want from me.
JM, you are a fabulous inspiration to us all. And anyone
Thank
sitting
you.
back who thinks, oh, you know, I had a bad day, I had a long commute, I can't start a course, baloney. Your excuses are not valid. JM can do it, you can do it. So let's, for those of you who have not started any courses yet or written your own books or created your own projects, it's time to get off your duff. I sound like an old person saying duff, don't I, Barb? Get off your duff and start creating. JM can do it where he lives with certain restrictions and limitations on internet and other things. You and I have absolutely no excuse. The time is right now.
Thank you.
It's not after the pandemic. It's not once the economy gets going again. Those are all excuses. The time to create, the time to produce is right now. It reminds me, I won't say I get a kick out of it, but I'm on various newsletter lists that all cater to so-called professional speakers. And they always start off the same of, yes, this has been a horrible year and a half for professional speakers. The professional speaking industry has been decimated. And yeah, I get it. If your only revenue model was getting paid $10,000 to travel across the country to get up on a stage in front of 5,000 people and get a check from a corporation or a trade association, yeah, it's been tough because those gigs evaporate in the last year and a half. But if you are in a profession where you speak and you share expertise and you help people improve their lives, their businesses or something by speaking, I have to tell you, this is the best time it's ever been in the history of the world. There have never been more opportunities to help people and share your wisdom by speaking and to make money from it if you want to make money. Money's not the only thing that matters, but if you like money, and I do, my family likes money, they like when I make money, there's never been a better time. And I've seen countless speakers, so-called professional speakers, especially of a certain age, my age and older, who act like they have an excuse for their businesses going to zero revenues just because one thing changed. Well, I'm sorry, but that's just not an excuse. You have to adapt. I wasn't making online video-based courses 30 years ago or 35 years ago. Nobody was. And yet today, if you speak and you want to make money from your speaking, that's what I call a professional speaker, it's never been easier. You've got hundreds of platforms. You've got your own platform. You've got connections to billions of people around the world if you can put something attractive and useful in front of them. So I commend JM and his initiative, and any of you who are saying, well, I want to be a professional speaker, do it today. Start speaking on YouTube. Start creating your own online video-based course. That, if you get paid even $1, that makes you a professional speaker. You're being paid money to speak. So it's not about necessarily being on the platform in front of 10,000 adoring fans trying to be Anthony Robbins. There's nothing wrong with that. And I love being up on stage in front of a big crowd, but that's only one way. And here's the thing, once you start speaking in one area, whether it's YouTube or online courses, people are going to be asking you to speak in a lot of other areas. In the last 24 hours, I've had 2 requests for speeches, both of them in other countries. They both want me to speak to them through Zoom, but it's just another opportunity to share a message, to share expertise, help people, and yeah, I help myself too, because I can sell other products and services and trainings and online courses I do too. Barb,
Say,
we are past
TJ,
our 1 hour, but I wanted to give some time to you and final thoughts from you.
sorry,
Oh, go ahead, Barb.
TJ. Well, I know we're actually much shorter here because we started late, but the one thing I did want to ask you this week, because we've had a launch, I think 3 different audio services launch now for, we have the Clubhouse that you had said that you had just gotten involved in, but there's a lot of teaching going on via audio over there. So I just wondered if you had given any consideration as to the impact this whole wave of using the social audio is going to have on the training industry.
Audio is huge. The beauty of audio is it's so versatile. You could be driving in your car. In fact, speaking of driving in your car, special hello to our good friend Dwayne, who checked in earlier today saying he was listening to us in his car. That's the beauty of audio, in that you can do it while doing other things. So yes, I think that, yeah, Dwayne Marlowe is joining us today in Northern Florida from his car. So audio, I won't say is going to be huge because it already is huge, but what we're seeing is people aging out. People who listen to talk radio show, the Rush Limbaughs of the world are, and don't mean to be mean about this, they're dying off. Rush Limbaugh himself has died in the last year. A lot of his audience is dying off, but younger people still want to listen to audio. They don't want to listen to AM political talk radio, but they like to listen to things that improve their lives. They're finding it on Clubhouse. Facebook, I understand, has something now that's in some way similar to Clubhouse that's going to be an audio format, or is. There are other audio formats out there. And of course, podcasting continues to grow and grow every day and explode. Again, as recently as this morning when I was at Starbucks chatting with my friends there, one of them says, do you ever listen to the podcast? I think it's good. Wake Up or Good Morning with Sam Harris. I have heard the podcast. So people like podcasts. They're only growing in popularity. Many of you have heard Tim Ferriss's podcast. I was a regular listener of that for years. So audio is great in that you can be doing other things, driving, walking, jogging, washing dishes, and you can still be a part of it. You can obviously consume it in a way that you can't be reading a book driving a car. At least I hope you're not driving a car and reading a book. And it's pretty hard to walk and read a book, but you can listen. So yes, I'm very excited about the possibility of audio, and I've had several different online training companies come to me in just the last month or so saying, TJ, we want to take the audio part of your online courses and make those available to our listeners. So that's a place I see growing, and it's only growing in importance. And last year, I was approached by a startup that had funding from Mark Andreessen, if you're familiar with that name in the startup world. He was the founder of Netscape and is perhaps one of the top 2 or 3 most prominent venture capitalists of the last 25 years in the internet age. So he's putting money behind audio startups and audio training companies. So it's only going to get bigger, Barb. Did you have any thoughts that you wanted to share about audio?
Well, I do see, you're right, Facebook Audio Rooms has launched for groups. It's rolling out in the United States. We will be trying that in our group, our student group. But it's really, TJ, when I was involved in the testing and that, I said, this reminds me of the old party line analog telephone. Remember when someone would get in and then somebody else would come on the line and you'd start having another conversation. So it's more social that way. And you are having multiple people.
I will confess, I remember seeing that on reference on TV and movies. I do remember the old CB radios where people would just get
Yeah.
on and talk. Around about 1978, it was a big craze, and then
Right.
kind of died off. And I certainly knew people who were into ham radio, something you don't hear much about anymore. So audio is very, very popular with a lot of people for a lot of reasons. Certainly, if you're blind and you don't want to read through Braille, and TV's not that interesting, audio is great. If you have any sort of vision impairment, and if you're doing other things, if you're a truck driver doing in a profession where you can be doing your job and still listening and it not be a distraction, it's a fantastic tool. It's also simply a way a lot of people like to consume content. Many people who are dyslexic, for example, they may consume 3 books a week in audio format, whereas it might take them 2 months to read the book. It's so much easier if you have any sort of reading impairment to consume a book through audio format. So many, many reasons why audio is popular. And we've talked about this in the past on these segments, that you can go back 25 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, before internet was that big a deal, or certainly before social media. If you look at minutes consumed by the average news consumer in the United States, radio beat television and print.
Right.
Now, in the past, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, that was NPR, local AM radio, talk radio had more minutes per day than the number of minutes reading newspaper. Radio the number of minutes per consumer has gone down, but when you factor in not just radio, but podcast consumption, audio consumption from places like Clubhouse, it is growing and it is huge.
Right.
Barb, thanks for sharing that. Any final thoughts you have before we sign off for the day?
I'm looking forward to next week, I got to tell you, and having a full internet speed to work with. It'll be a new adventure. And I also wanted to remind everyone who's tuned in that are already TJ students that we all got an email today. TJ has a whole list of courses that he's offering right now at a special discount to existing students. So be sure you check your email for your notification from Udemy from TJ, because it's I think there was like over 115 courses or so listed, wasn't there, TJ?
A whole slew of them. And I'll say this, not to sound self-serving for myself, how else would you be self-serving? But if you have any friends, colleagues, people you want to support, or you want to support someone like JM, and you're even thinking of buying their course, you always help them out so much more by buying the course when that instructor sends you a coupon. Because if you just go to Udemy and buy an instructor's course by typing in their name or typing in the subject and finding it, the instructor typically gets about 37% of that. So if you buy the course for $10, the instructor is getting $3.70, which is fine. But if you receive a coupon directly from an instructor and you buy that course, the instructor gets almost all of it, gets like 97% of it. So a much higher percentage of the revenue goes right back to the instructor. So whether it's for me or any other instructor, that's the case. So if you do like a particular instructor and you want to help them out, because we're not asking you for the Patreon or all these other things where everyone's asking you for tips and donations. We're not asking for that. But if you do want to help out a little more, and you're going to spend the same amount of money, in fact, even less, because you're going to get a discount from the instructor typically, then buy it directly from the instructor. And that way you get a discount and the instructor gets all of it. Well, JM, good luck with your courses. You're continuing to publish great courses. It's so fantastic to see students of mine go from learning to building confidence to making courses to actually making best-selling courses, which is what JM has done. And those of you, wherever you are on that path.
Thanks, DJ.
You're welcome, JM. I want to see you continuing up that path. And maybe it's not courses, maybe you want to become a superstar on Amazon Live or Facebook Live. Wherever you're trying to make progress, I wish you luck. I'm TJ Walker. Thanks so much. See you next week.